Hello, this is Eileen Weed, who will tell us how she came to Satya Sai Baba in the first place and what it was that motivated her to go there.
Okay, hello. When I was growing up when I was about 9 years old, my parents got into Eastern philosophy and they ended up reading a book, The Holy Man and the Psychiatrist by Samuel Sandweiss. And they immediately believed in everything they read, all the miracles of Satya Sai Baba and how he's God and all his teachings they liked very much. So at that point, we discovered there was a Satya Sai Baba center near our home, and we started to go on Thursdays as a family, including my brother and sister and me. I'm the eldest. So from the time I was 9, 10, 11 years old, we started to go to the bhajans every Thursday, and then Sunday potlucks where we met a lot of other devotees. Most were Indians. And I grew up with his teachings and also with the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, because my parents were into self-realization fellowship. So we grew up meditating and just learning all about Eastern philosophy. And I had a very spiritual bent of mind, so I didn't want to live the worldly life. I was very much interested in going to India and staying in an ashram. And so when I was 18 years old, I got a job and earned my own money, and I joined a group going to India of 30 people. And as soon as I arrived in India, I just felt it was home. Of course, I had been growing up all this time just hearing about India and how spiritual it was and how good the people were, and I thought everyone was vegetarians and everybody was holy. So I wanted to stay in an ashram. At first, I wanted actually to go to a cave in the Himalayas and become a yogi, but following in the footsteps of the yogis that Paramahansa Yogananda met. But as soon as I got to the Puttaparthi ashram with our group of 30 people, I figured I was only 18 years old, so I thought it was safer to stay in the ashram. And I believed in Sai Baba as God, and I believed that he would help me get to liberation, which was my goal in life. So that's how I first came to the ashram, and I just wanted to settle down there forever. I didn't want to go back to the worldly America and be in the rat race and have a job and marriage and kids and all that. I just wanted to be in an ashram. So that's how I first came to Puttaparthi.
And you stayed there a long time and began to learn Telugu, didn't you?
Yes, I started to learn Telugu because, well, at first I had a dream of Sai Baba's two sisters, and I didn't even know he had sisters at that time, or I didn't know whether they were living or dead. And someone pointed them out to me, and I said, "Oh, I had a dream of them." I wanted to start to talk with them because of my dream, which showed me having an interview with them. So, and then I heard that they only knew Telugu. So I thought, oh, I want to talk to them because in my dream I was having an interview with the sisters, and the sisters told me I could stay forever. So maybe God's will is that I somehow be friends with his sisters. So for that reason, I got a book on Telugu and started to learn it.
How extraordinary.
Yes, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So you became very fluent in the language eventually, didn't you?
I did. It took a couple years from I first arrived in India in 1984 November, and I started to study Telugu on my own in 1987, and it took a solid 2 years until 1989. And after 2 years, I became very fluent. I was mostly only talking to Telugu women, elderly ladies in the back of the mandir that sit. That's where I sat too. And I'd have less and less to do with the foreigners and more with the elderly Indian ladies.
You must have been about the only foreign devotee who actually learned Telugu in order to know what was going on.
It's true. There was 20 or 30 other women over the years that stayed a long time as full-time residents, and several of them tried to learn Telugu, but the most they got was learning a few sentences, and then they dropped it because they weren't as interested. But I had the motivation because of that dream I had of meeting his sisters and talking to them. I felt that it was God's way of telling me that his sisters would help me get to liberation. If I associated with them, it would be almost like associating with him, and then I'd get that holy vibration and my soul would be lifted up and it would be easier to gain liberation.
Divya has told elsewhere how she came to know Sai Baba's two sisters by greeting them in Telugu. She soon made daily flower garlands for them and began to do household chores for Venkama. After some years, Divya looked after her when she was ill and later moved into her ashram apartment, caring for her for 2 years until she died. Can you say something about how Venkama related to Satya Sai Baba and what you got to know about that relationship?
At the beginning, I noticed that devotees would come to see Venkama, the eldest of the two sisters of Swami, and ask questions about his childhood, but she would usually not say anything about the childhood, not give out stories. And occasionally she would give out stories, but it would only be repeating what was in the books. What I observed from the relationship of Sai Baba and his sister, it was mainly the worldly relationship of she needed money or she needed help with her wayward son, and he would give advice or send things to her to help out. And that was the same with other family members too. It wasn't really spiritual or help me get to liberation and give me your blessings. It was more along the lines of my son sold the mill and I bought him the mill, and what are we going to do? He has no money. He spent all the money selling to the mill. Can you help us out? And Sai Baba would send 50,000 rupees or a gold chain to make her feel better, or earrings or something. And he would always say something like, "Oh, don't worry, it will be okay. Everything will be okay." And that was his answer. He didn't really solve any problems. He just kept assuring them that everything was okay and they were supposed to be fine with that. And
yes, and when Venkama fell ill and was lying on her deathbed, in fact, it didn't turn out so well, did it?
No, even when she was very unwell, he kept saying, "Don't worry, it will get better, all will be okay, here's some vibhuti for you, and take the vibhuti," and it would comfort them, but no, it didn't end well, it didn't help her get well or anything. When she was really ill, the main thing she wanted is to see him. Just like any sister would want a family member or brother, her own brother, to come and see her. So that was her main desire, and he kept not coming, and then finally he'd come. If she was in the hospital 3 weeks, he might come once, and that was satisfying to her. But she didn't get well, she didn't get better, and no problem was solved.
I understand from something you told me before that he'd said something like, "What can I do?"
Yeah, he'd say that too sometimes. What can I do? You know, it is what it is, and here's some vibhuti, and it will be okay, don't worry.
That's amazing, considering what he claimed to be and what he claimed to be able to do. It's
Yes.
completely, totally
I don't
amazing.
think his family members expected a miracle. It didn't seem to me, because they've been seeing him for 70, 80 years, you know, I don't think they expected him to do miracles. They just hoped for the best, and just seeing him was a comfort.
And so it was you who actually comforted her to the last breath, virtually.
Yes, and even her family members, she had grandchildren, one son, and he had 6 children, and several of them had told me, she only wants you by her side, and you're comforting her, and thank goodness you're there. They even said that because they just come every few days and visit, or every week or two, they'd have their own lives. I was there on a day-to-day basis actually caring for her. And Sai Baba would just come up every few weeks and send a message. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Here's some more money.